Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hunter Base Podcast. What do Maverick Hunters do when they're not hunting Mavericks? They go back to the base, recharge, and shoot the shit. I'm your host with the most, Zeromaster, and tonight I have a very special guest. He is the creator of the Ox7 Gaming YouTube channel. He's my partner in crime for Terror Time. It's Brad.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Yes.
This is my first time doing this with you.
Yeah, on episode 23.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, no, I've actually been watching a few of your podcasts lately just so I can be up to date with everything.
Yeah. We do it we try to do it bi-weekly, but sometimes it doesn't work out. No. But it is what it is. And actually, you suggested this topic and to be on the podcast for. So today we're going to be talking about the End of ScrewAttack, and basically just talking about ScrewAttack in general, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I wouldn't be making videos, reviews, Let's Plays, this podcast, my channels, without ScrewAttack's influence. So we're going to go into that a little bit. So before I get to my side, can you give us your backstory of how you got into ScrewAttack, Brad?
I came to ScrewAttack when, 2008. It's actually how I found the nerd. At the time, I was going through a lot of health complications, so I was bedridden a lot. I couldn't do much.
Okay.
And I actually found ScrewAttack through game trailers, and then through ScrewAttack, I found the nerd. And it's weird to think, because game trailers and ScrewAttack are now gone, but the nerd is still going strong, I would say.
Yeah, it's funny, he had a contract with game trailers around then, and now he has one with Amazon, because his videos go to Amazon Prime first, which is weird.
Yeah, I found ScrewAttack when it was the very end of Handsome Tom's run.
Yeah,
that's how he left a month after I found it, and whatever happened there. But apparently, him and Craig were good at the end, and then ScrewAttack got rebranded to Death Battle. Yeah.
Yeah, you came in around what I would call the post-breakup era. Let's say post-breakup, because it was Handsome Tom and Craig were kind of the ones leading the charge for the first few years, and then he got a whole new crew after that. So you were just really sick, and you had nothing to do, and you found James's stuff, and that led you to ScrewAttack, basically, eh?
Yeah, well, it was actually, I found game trailers first, because I was actually looking for a game trailer for a game at the time. I don't even remember what it was. But I went to the actual game trailers website, and I found ScrewAttack. So, no, I don't know, it was something like that, but I found the nerd through ScrewAttack, because I found ScrewAttack through game trailers. So, and then, it's just weird to think that was 12 years ago I found ScrewAttack.
Yeah, 11, 12 years ago, yeah. And God, it's so weird though now that to see that they're gone. But before we go into that, I'll get into where I came in. So in 2006, I was going to college for the first time. And I kind of just went into this program called Web Developers, what it was called. It eventually became Web Design. It was a 12-month course. You had to take it. I took it from September to August straight. It was 3 semesters. It was all the way through. So at that time, I've been dabbling in video stuff. I've been teaching myself how to edit and stuff. I was one of those kids that was really weird, where I would my friends would all be would be busy on the weekends, so instead I would stay home and teach myself stuff. I taught myself how to flash animate, I taught myself how to edit videos, use Photoshop, I taught myself all those things when I was 12, 13, 14, stuff like that. I was teaching myself stuff in my free time. I used to make video games, actually. I taught myself how to develop games in RPG Maker and shit, and Game Maker and all that. But around that time I was going to college, a buddy of mine who is my buddy Brian, who He's I don't know if he's still doing stuff now, but he was part of a gadget rap group called the Mad Gadgets. And he was telling me he was getting into all this internet stuff because he wanted to promote his rap group. And he told me he found the Angry Video Game Nerd. He's like, hey man, you got to check out, at this time, the Angry Nintendo Nerd is what he was called. So he's like, you got to check out this Angry Nintendo Nerd guy. I'm like, okay. So we watched it on the school's computers, which is, I hope nobody came over to pull my headphones out to hear what I was actually listening to. But yeah, we would watch, I just marathon, his whole first season was out at that time. I think he was just about to start the second season of the AVGN, or an Angry Nintendo Nerd at that point. So all his original classics, like the first 10 or so episodes, I just marathoned them. And then that led me, of course, to ScrewAttack. And I got into their other shows, obviously they did Video Game Vaults and Top 10s at that time, but funny enough, their podcast Side Scrollers I didn't get into until way later, because I wasn't really a podcast guy at that time. Funny with me being a podcast guy now. But I remember they just had this breadth of content. That's where I saw Awesome Video Games for the first time, which is an amazing series, which sadly is probably never going to get made again because the main people moved to Japan. So so yeah, that kind of sucks. But they had Captain S was basically a Captain N parody, but with Sega.
Yeah, I remember that. It
had really high production values at the time. I remember it being just nuts for what they were able to do. And then of course there was lots of other content too. And obviously James's newest video, or Angry Nintendo Nerd or Angry Video Game Nerd videos, would go to ScrewAttack first. And that's really what ScrewAttack was, is they were a platform for people to put their videos, because he put his videos up on YouTube and he would get so many views, but ScrewAttack promoted him and pushed his brand, which was very important. It led on to other sites the Game Heroes, Channel Awesome, even the site that I'm a part of, River City Gamers. We do the same kind of idea where it's a bunch of creators collaborating together on a site. And where I actually got started with my first video was the first video I ever made. And I'm so glad this one's gone. I have it somewhere, but it was a top 10 Mega Man games that I had made to try to get onto the, because they would do G1 submissions. G1 was the name of the people who were part of the ScrewAttack community. So it was my attempt to get on the G1 submission as the front page, because they would pick one every week and put it on the front page, and that means your video get viewed. So my first video that I ever did for them was my top 10 Mega Man games, and I don't agree with that list anymore. I put a dumb limitation on myself to say this is I only allowed myself 2 games per franchise for a top 10. That doesn't really work. And there's 6 Mega Man franchises, so that literally left me with 2 games each series. So, but even now, I don't think I'd make a top 10 Mega Man games, because it'd be too hard. There's so many games that I have to choose from, and without most of them being Super Nintendo and NES games, would make it nearly impossible. So.
I was gonna say, back then, there was the original X.
There's original X, Star Force, Battle Network, Zero, ZX, and Legends. So that's 7 different franchises.
In 2007, there was that many?
Yeah.
Holy crap, I need to catch up. I just beat Mega Man 2 for the first time today.
Yeah, you texted me earlier saying you beat it. Congratulations, buddy. You beat the easiest Mega Man game.
Well, yeah, sure, easy.
But anyways, so yeah, I made that video, and it's funny because Craig put it up himself on the front page of ScrewAttack. I remember this specifically. And he basically had said, because I had made a point of the video to say that I didn't agree with his video game vaults on certain Mega Man games. So he kind of wrote this thing to say well, we don't agree with this list. And basically went on to make it sound like every single person was going to leave an angry comment. And thank God it's gone, because the comment section on that video on Game Trailers was, oh my God, it was hilarious. So many people were upset. I think that was the first video I ever made that hit. Oh, I got hundreds of thousands of views on that video on the Game Trailers website. It was nuts.
And the G1's network back in the day. I was actually part of it, but I didn't have anything special, like little clip videos here and there. But it's if the site's still there, which I don't think it is, I'm probably still on there somewhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because after I made that video, that's when I got in contact with other Canadian G1s, and I got the ScrewAttack Canada intro, which I'm sure I still have on my computer somewhere. And I made a couple of video game vaults. I made one on Star Wars Super Return of the Jedi, which is I re-uploaded to my reviews channel, which you can still watch. I did a review of my friend's Quake mod called The Ascension of Vigil, and I made a few other videos, and that was really what got me started. And then where I really got my start is I started a show called this is going to sound hilarious. This is still available on my channel somewhere, but it called the Super Game Boy. And it was me making a character who was like, who couldn't make it in the rap industry. So he decided to review video games instead. It's very cringy. It's really, really cringy. You might have to check it out after this and be like, oh my God, what is this?
No, I will check it out after this. Trust me.
So I only made 2 episodes of it. I made an episode talking about Mega Man 1. And then the second episode, I completely dropped the character and did a review of what I still consider one of the worst games ever made, Spy vs. Spy Operation Booby Trap. And it's funny because like I this is how ballsy I was back then. Like how ballsy I was. I addressed James in the video and said, "Look, I know you like bad games, but just stay away from this one." Like the balls I must have had when I made that video, but that's the way it was. Like James was just somebody who was a part of the community back then. And that's what was so great about ScrewAttack, is about community. And if it wasn't for those G1 submissions, I don't think I'd be making videos now.
ScrewAttack, like it basically led the groundwork for everything today. Like if there was no ScrewAttack, there'd be no AVGN, and then in turn there'd be no really Let's Players or anything like that. There'd be no JonTron or Game Grumps.
It's interesting because I just while you were trying to get in here, I actually watched Rich Review Tech USA just did a video talking about this, and there's something that resonated with me was the fact that back then gaming on YouTube was not a major moneymaker for them. It was kind of like just like a side of YouTube, and they never really promoted those videos until they started exploding, like with PewDiePie and Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and Game Grumps and all these people. So back then, James, while James was one of the most popular channels on the platform, he was still not considered big, and that's why we had to go to sites like ScrewAttack or Retroware TV or Blistered Thumbs or Reviewtopia, all these sites I could mention, because that's how you got the gaming content, because YouTube just wasn't promoting it, and a lot of times you couldn't find it. And on top of that, when the whole copyright thing started, or the copyright bot stuff started, and it was really, really bad in the first days of YouTube, where you could get an entire video taken down for seemingly nothing. And it would just take it down. People would go upload their videos to Blip or Rever or somewhere else, and then put them on these websites like ScrewAttack, not Review Tech USA, sorry, Retroware, Channel Awesome, all those websites that pretty much they exist, but pretty much don't exist anymore because there's no need, because YouTube got better. But one thing I want to mention is, unlike the scrub with Machinima, at least the ScrewAttack videos are still available. You can still see them on the Rooster Teeth website. They've put them over on there. Yeah, it's just bizarre to think of it. I mean, technically, ScrewAttack had been dead for years.
Like 3 or 4 years. It's just been basically death channel with like top 10s sprinkled in here and there. I didn't even think, did they even do side scrollers at the end anymore, or did they get rid of that too? Like
that pretty much ended before Craig left. Like he ended it before he left. They actually have a new podcast called the Death Battle Cast, which I did listen to because they did an episode explaining the reasoning of why they retired the ScrewAttack brand. And from what I understand, it's not going to be completely gone. They're still using ScrewAttack branding from stuff, but within a month, they're going to be removing the ScrewAttack brand from the Rooster Teeth website. And they're going to be replacing it with ScrewAttack playlists in the future where you could see all the old videos. But they're basically all going in on Death Battle because, and I understand why, because whenever they would work with somebody or people would say, would be wanting to work with them, nobody knew who ScrewAttack was at that point, but they knew what Death Battle was. So that's why they've gone ahead and rebranded, because they really don't do anything with the ScrewAttack name anymore, except like you said, the average like top 10 every once in a while.
Yeah, and I listened to Craig's podcast after the news broke.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't know he actually had a chance to potentially buy ScrewAttack back, and he passed on it.
Well, I think the reason for that is because he doesn't need it anymore. Game Attack is doing well enough, and they have like something like almost 500,000 followers on Twitch, so they don't need it. And besides, the content that they're doing now with Game Attack is very different than ScrewAttack. So it makes sense.
It's basically, it was the natural evolution of or what ScrewAttack could have been. Mm-hmm. And like if Death Battle wasn't a thing, if Craig never left, basically what Game Attack is now is where ScrewAttack would have been, I think. I mean, he basically said that in the podcast. And the only reason he didn't, or he would have bought the ScrewAttack likeness back, is just for the videos. That's it. He wouldn't have done anything. He just wanted the library, because if they're rebranding, and if Rooster Teeth goes belly up, then those videos are gone forever.
Yeah. And luckily, there's backups upon backups upon backups of these videos. There's fan backups. There's official backups. Rooster Teeth has backups. All this stuff is backed up, so we have copies of these videos. So that's the good thing to come out of all this, is that this stuff is still there if we want to get it and we ever want to reminisce. But it's one of those things where I personally feel like that I could have seen this coming from a mile away, because they stopped doing the kind of content that ScrewAttack did, and a lot of the stuff they did in the post breakup era, I would say, when they hired on people like Chad and I can't think of their names right now. Destin, Pro Jared Corey. Worked there for a little bit. Corey, yeah, those people, when they got on this, they were just doing whatever they could and seeing if it would stick. But there's a few things I want to take a moment to talk about some of our favorite shows from ScrewAttack, and I've got the ScrewAttack Wikipedia is kind of a side Wikipedia now, but there's a ScrewAttack wiki, and I forgot some of this shit.
I should probably pull that up too, because actually right now on my TV I have every ScrewAttack top 10 playing in chronological order, and I plan on watching them all, because it was that or Video Game Vault were my two favorite things. Other than the nerd, but eventually after he broke off from ScrewAttack, he had like Cinemassacre, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Video Game Vault and top 10. From what I remember, Side Scrollers was really good.
Oh yes, Side Scrollers was my first podcast that I listened to. It was the first podcast I ever listened to, and I'm like, what is this podcast thing about? And it was honestly my first foray into those kind of things. And I was sad when Side Scrollers was over, because they ended it, I think, just a few months before Craig left, and they sold to Rooster Teeth. So I was sad when it ended, and I was like, well, at least I have all the previous ones and go listen to them. They're somewhere. But some of my favorite shows, and for some reason I lost the wiki link.
Yeah, I'm just pulling that up now.
But Some of my favorite shows is the show they did with Craig's brother called Unaware Steve. I used to love Unaware Steve. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's. I don't remember seeing any of the episodes, but the theme song is always going to stick with me.
Unaware Steve, Unaware Steve hasn't played a game since 1992. And it's funny because his brother he doesn't do video stuff, but he was talking to him during the whole thing he was doing. But oh yeah, here we go. The list of shows. Okay, so obviously the shows that they had were the most recent shows they had were of course Death Battle, Top Tens, and everything else is related to Death Battle, like DBX, Desk of Death Battle Cast. But
Jose's Puntos. That was
Jose's Puntos.
Yeah,
was a great show. The Best Ever was one that I really liked. They would always come up with
best ever.
Clip of the week. Oh my god, Clip of the Week has some of the most cringy shit that they ever made. Like the Japanese game show that Chad hosted.
What is the name of the big one they had before Death Battle?
Video game vaults were big.
No.
Great
Hard News.
Video game history. Hard News was important because it was at the time it was one of the early video sources of gaming news, and they did it in like 5 to 10 minutes, just nothing but gaming news. And first there was Destin who hosted it, and then of course Pro Jared hosted it when he was working at ScrewAttack. So Hard News is very, very important. Almost, I would say, equally as important as the Angry Video Game in terms of their repertoire of shows, because now you go to YouTube, you can get gaming news anywhere. Like one of the guys I mentioned, Review Tech USA, that's all he does is gaming news, basically, and reviews every so often. But if you want to get gaming news, you can go almost anywhere. Pat the NES Punk's CU podcast talks gaming news. Like you can go to pretty much IGN, they do videos now. You can go to any gaming outlet and they do gaming news videos. And there's YouTubers who basically, that's all they do is gaming news videos. And they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers because that's something that people still want. And Hard News was the first guys to do it. Well, maybe not the exact first, but they were the first to do it successfully and in a way that got it, just got to the point. Didn't deal with all the bullshit. They just did it. And and I'll never forget the first time I met Pro Jared was like a year after he had quit, or he had mutually left ScrewAttack to work on his own stuff. And I remember I said, Jared, I know you don't do it anymore, but can you please, just for me, just give me a Hard News intro? And he did it. He's like, he threw a pen that was at the table. He's like, I'm Jared, and this is Hard News. I love Destin's way of doing it too.
I still think that's always Destin's
Hard
thing.
News.
That's always going to be Destin's thing, even after Pro Jared took over. No, it's every time I hear Hard News, that's who I think of. Apparently, Destin got a job at IGN. I don't know if he's still there, but that's why he left ScrewAttack.
He's moved around a couple other jobs, but he's still doing gaming content.
Good. I've always liked him. What was another one?
Let's see. There's so much stuff. The big ones were Quote of the Week or Clip of the Week. Obviously, the Saggies. That's ScrewAttack's award show for shitty ass games.
Screwing Around was another big one.
Screwing Around was a good one. I can't believe I forgot the Saggies. Those were huge when they first happened. Like the equivalent now, I would say, is Angry Joe's top 10 of the year lists. His like top 10 worst games of the year list is probably the closest thing I could think of. But the Saggies are hilarious. Like they were like the first time where there was an award show based on giving the shittiest things from that year in gaming an award. And they first started in 2007. Like, worst Escape from Bug Island was one of the nominees for worst Wii game. Holy fuck, that game is shitty. It's okay, just to put it in perspective, it's a really, really shitty horror game, that you and I may have to play at some point.
It's fine. Escape from the Grumps did that, didn't they? Or am I thinking of something else?
My buddy SCR did a Let's Play of it, and he has the world record speedrun time on it. That's how I found out about it.
I might be thinking of something completely different, but
Escape. Something I almost forgot about. One of my favorite game franchises I never would have discovered if it wasn't for a ScrewAttack review, and that's Earth Defense Force. They did a review of Earth Defense Force 2017 for the Xbox 360, and by the way, this game came out in 2006. Like as one of their early reviews, and I remember months later seeing that game because it didn't sell very well, but seeing that game on sale at Walmart for like $5, I picked it up, put it on the shelf, and then one day when my buddies came over, they're like, "What the hell is Earth Defense Force 2017?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's a game where you shoot alien bugs." They're like, "That sounds awesome," and now we're obsessed with the series. And the most recent game that came out, Earth Defense Force 5, is fucking awesome. So that's one of my favorite gaming series of all time, and if it wasn't for ScrewAttack, I never would have found out about it.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people are too with ScrewAttack. Like they took games from relative obscurity and brought it right back. Like, for example, I know they're probably shitty games. I've never played them, so I don't know, but I'm going to say yes. The CDI Zelda games. That was the first time I heard about them, was ScrewAttack, when Handsome Tom and Studding Craig.
Oh, God. Do you know what I just remembered? Okay, so one of the other YouTubers that they had on their site for a while is they had lots of people. Like they had that's how Peanut Butter Gamer got his start. That's how Andre Blackner Comedy got his start. One I remember the most that I was really into at the time was the game Overthinker, where he would do analysis videos. They made a show. They made their own show called The Game Over Drinker, and it was just Sam getting drunk and talking about video game shit with Chad. They would just literally just get him drunk and ask him video game questions. It was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen.
Didn't they have the video game Underthinker too?
That's another thing. That's also the video game, The Game Overthinker. It's the same guy.
Just one overthinks one, because
yeah.
I haven't really watched.
It's Movie Bob. That's The Game Overthinker, and Underthinker was his series that dealt with video games, because he mostly does movie reviews, but the Overthinkers is other thing. But the Overdrinker was awesome, and actually one of my favorite early ScrewAttack videos that I just remembered was when the PS3 launch was happening, and Craig was out there interviewing people. And one of the people he interviewed says, "Yeah, I'm looking really forward to Residence Fall of Man." And he's like, and Craig's like, "People are excited, even if they don't know the names of the games." Residence Fall of Man. Oh, man.
One of the videos that stuck with me is, I think it was the release of Smash.
Are you talking about the release of Smash Brawl where they almost got arrested?
No, that other guy got arrested because they were just they were giving something away or doing something for charity. The guy just comes up and he's like, "Hey, don't film me," and then he starts giving them shit, and
then like he calls 911 and Craig just puts his microphone in front of him like that, and he's like, I love how in the podcast he's like, "I would never do that now, but I just had balls back then." And it was so funny. The guy who called the cops was the one who got arrested. Oh man, they had balls. They had balls to do stuff.
Well, one of the biggest risks I think they took was obviously SGC.
Oh my god, SGC, the ScrewAttack Gaming Convention, for those of you who don't know, was their big con. And when we were listening to the podcast, Craig's podcast he did on Game Attack, one of the things he said is he remembers when he said because he had some of the other guys like Chad and Sam and them in a chat with him, and he's like, "What did you guys think when I said I want to do a game convention?" They were just like, "That's a stupid idea, but okay."
And it became one of the biggest gaming conventions for a few years. Like I would say it was on the level of like Comic-Con.
That was the first time Pat the NES Punk did his own panel. He said like 11 people showed up, but he did it. And Peanut Butter Gamer was there a lot. He almost was like a regular for them. Like he almost worked with them at the actual ScrewAttack headquarters because he lives in Texas like them. But he decided to focus on his series instead. And well, look at where Peanut Butter Gamer is now. So there's just so many. They introduced. What was great about ScrewAttack is they introduced people to so many different things. They would take on other people and their shows and take a chance on them and promote them. And Nathan Barnett, another one I thought of, the guy who did Keith Apicary, yeah. His whole Talking Classics show. When they did when they had the ScrewAttack store, when they first started selling Angry Video Gamer DVDs and merch from some of their contributors, one of my favorite videos from them is that Real Low Cheap, where it's one of Nathan Barnett's characters, Trail Lewis, talking about how everything on the ScrewAttack store is real low cheap. If you haven't seen that video, you gotta check it out. It's on, I think it's still on Nathan's channel. It's just called Real Low Cheap. But and he has this awkward, weird comedy where he gets himself into situations. Like one of my dad's favorite YouTube videos, my dad, who doesn't really watch YouTube, is Back Pain Wayne.
Back Pain Wayne.
That's one of Nathan Barnett's videos series. So where he just pretends he has chronic back pain and falls into things. But yeah, it's so like they were such a big player in content creation back in the day. And
well, it's because like game trailers back in the day, like yeah, they were still like things for like video game players and all that, but like it was still like, I don't want to say it was corporate, but that's kind of what it was. ScrewAttack was, a lot of their shows were fan created, right. and then they just brought them onto the actual ScrewAttack website. Yeah, because like the G1s was another big one. Fan submissions, all that stuff. It was a site for video game fans.
Oh yeah, G1 submissions were huge. Again, that's how I got my start.
Yeah, and like, it was the first website of its kind. Like, it was the first website to have its original content.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Angry Video Game Nerd. There was nothing like that before. Like a lot of people argue, Angry Joe kind of came up around the same time, but I think they're two very different things. Yeah,
they are definitely very different things. But let's talk about a little bit about the different eras of ScrewAttack, because ScrewAttack, again, of course, started out in like 2005, 2006, like we were saying. And that was kind of the early era where there was people like, of course, Stuttering Craig, Handsome Tom, Perfect Liz, New School Mickey, who later became 8-Bit Mickey, and eventually Metal Gear Ben.
Yeah.
Who's just Ben now. And then in I think it was like 2008, 2009, I think, that's when Handsome Tom and Perfect Liz and 8-Bit Mickey split off and made the Game Heroes.
Yeah.
And the Game Heroes I never really followed, but I saw a couple of their videos when they would show up on Channel Awesome, but they went off and had a thing with Channel Awesome, which also was huge at the time, but they also, the same idea as ScrewAttack, is a place for people to post their content. And
yeah, they're gone now too.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, mostly.
Yeah.
but they're gone for a completely different reason, which we won't get into. But a less than good reason. I'll say that much. But then that's around the time when they got the contracts with Game Trailers to put Top 10s, Video Game Vaults, and Angry Video Game Nerd on there. And I remember waiting for new episodes to come up on Game Trailers, because Game Trailers, just like ScrewAttack, was a big player back in the day. And they shut down a few years ago, but they're still around. The people who worked on it still around, luckily, with Easy Allies. But like when it shut down, like that was a big blow to gaming on the internet, because even though they weren't really a big player anymore, like they had been for a long time. And it was mostly because of their partnership with ScrewAttack. because people from
Yeah.
ScrewAttack would go to game trailers to watch videos. When that partnership ended, I think a lot of things also ended for them too, and that's why probably game trailers was dying, because the viewership wasn't there. That's one of the reasons why they stopped. And it's sad because a lot of the old game trailers videos you can't get anymore that I wanted. I used to love their retrospective series,
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy and Zelda and Metroid and stuff. And luckily, I have some of them downloaded, but the Final Fantasy ones I never did, and I wish I could get them back because I want to watch those videos again.
They're on YouTube. I watched them a few weeks ago.
Are all of them on YouTube?
All of them, like Zelda, Metroid, Resident Evil.
I couldn't find the Final Fantasy ones. I've only found like 1 or 2 episodes, so maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot. But yeah, there was the first example of something could just be gone like that.
Yeah.
And ScrewAttack at this point, though, when they entered their thing with game trailers, that's when they were in the era of with people like Chad,
Corey.
Sam, Corey, Destin,
Jose,
Jared, Jose, like all those people. They had really grown even after Handsome Tom, Perfect Liz, and Mickey left. So and this was the era I would say this was if the first era was the golden age, I'd say this is probably the silver age, because that's when they just started making content and putting it out there and hoping something would stick. And eventually something did stick. They had success with Hard News. They had success with some other people they worked with, like we mentioned before. And then eventually Death Battle was the thing that really got them, which was the thing that really did stick. And now that's basically all ScrewAttack is. And we're getting to now the new era, which I would call the Rooster Teeth era, where ScrewAttack was acquired by Rooster Teeth. Craig split off from ScrewAttack to make Game Attack, and Ben, Sam, Chad, I forget the one guy's name. I'm trying to remember it. Nick,
yeah.
All them stayed to do Death Battle and other stuff with Rooster Teeth. So, and that's kind of where we're at now. And like I said, it makes sense why they retired the name, because a lot of people were like, what ScrewAttack content do you do anymore? Which is maybe a top 10 once in a while, but it's mostly Death Battle, and that's why they rebranded it to Death Battle. But when I heard the news, when the news broke to me, because you were the one who told me about it, I hadn't clued in yet. I immediately bought a ScrewAttack hat because they were on sale for $10. So, because I don't have any ScrewAttack merch, and I'm like, you know what? Their shirts won't fit me because I'm a big, thick boy, and I have no use for stickers. They don't sell their DVDs on there. I'm just going to buy a hat because the hats were on sale. And you bought a shirt, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I wish I had my hat right now so I could have worn it for this podcast, but it hasn't arrived yet. So, and the reason I do that is because exactly what they said is that pretty soon, even on the Rooster Teeth site, the ScrewAttack brand is pretty much going to be gone. I mean, ScrewAttack will still live on in the new Death Battle logo, which is basically the old ScrewAttack one minus the bolt. And Sam was even joking on the Death Battle cast. He's saying, I'm going to find places to put the little ScrewAttack bolt in merch and stuff so that it's still there, so that people know that it still exists. But he's like, but it makes sense for them to rebrand. And another thing that I was a little confused on, which Ben was saying, is that the reason they took the videos down and put them on Rooster Teeth is because it's a test of YouTube's algorithm. Now, for those of you who don't know, the point of YouTube's algorithm is to keep you on YouTube as long as possible. If people are clicking your video and the next video they watch is another one of your videos, YouTube likes that. YouTube likes that and gives that to people. That's why all the YouTubers, including me, will put at the end of my video an annotation to one of my other videos. Because if you click on another one of my videos, that's good for me, and YouTube promotes us more if a lot of people do that. Yeah. If you go to someone else's video or go to off YouTube, that's bad for you, and YouTube won't promote you. And it's really hard these days. I just put a video out a few weeks ago, top 10 games of 2018. It doesn't even have 100 views yet. And I have 1.6 thousand subscribers on this channel. So I used to get thousands of views every day. Now I can barely manage to get 100 per video. And the kind of the climate that YouTube's in, unfortunately. And I can't fault the Death Battle guys for wanting to do that, because they're right. The ScrewAttack name has been gone, and they want people to keep clicking on Death Battle videos, not old ScrewAttack videos, because if they watch one Death Battle, you're probably going to watch 2 or 3. You watch one Death Battle and it links to an old ScrewAttack video. The old ScrewAttack video you might not watch as long, because the people there for Death Battle don't care about it, and that's why they've done that. It's sad, it's shitty, but I understand why. And it's not to say that they're embarrassed by their old content. Maybe some stuff like Nick getting pied in the face, but that was a funny video, or the Japanese game show by Chad, those probably wouldn't work in today's climate. Or the slap energy drink where Nick slapped fucking, not Corey, but the other girl. I can't remember her name now. She works for Funimation. I can't remember her name right now. But he slapped her for real, and they left it in. So videos that probably wouldn't fly in today's YouTube climate. So they're just like, we want to make sure that people are clicking on Death Battle and not those videos. And again, like I said, it's shitty, it sucks, but I understand why. How do you feel about the whole rebranding, Brad?
I actually saw this coming once we all found out Craig was leaving. There's no way, because it was on a downward slope for a long time. Before that, then he obviously left, created Game Attack, and ScrewAttack. Like, who got left in charge of ScrewAttack?
I think it's Chad and Ben. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
Now.
So, like, as soon as I found out, like, Craig was leaving, I knew it was the end. I'm actually surprised it didn't happen sooner. Because, like, for years, if you typed in ScrewAttack, you were getting Death Battle. You'd have a couple of their other videos sprinkled in, but it's been the Death Battle channel for 4 years.
Yeah.
With the ScrewAttack name. Mm-hmm. So, like, it sucks, but algorithm-wise, money-wise, brand-wise, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's so sad, though, because even though ScrewAttack technically has never gone away, while the main people who were working there are still working there in Death Battle stuff, you're not going to see top 10s anymore. You're not going to see video game vaults. Like, it's almost all Death Battle, and it's sad. This is the end of an era. Like, I think Craig said, like, 8 days away from the 13th anniversary of ScrewAttack. Like, it sucks, because this was a website that was built. 2 guys wanted to make a radio show, and with side scrollers, and they needed a place to put it, and they made ScrewAttack, and then they had made all these deals with other like creators who were just getting up and coming, and again, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for ScrewAttack, because it got me to be creative and say, other people are doing this, I can do this too, with what limited tools I had at the time and what I have now. I just today filmed footage for my next review, which is coming out next week. So I'm still making these videos, even though this is not my primary source of income. This is just a hobby for me. It's a hobby I very much enjoy, and it's one that I've kept up with since 2006, 2007. So I had my 10th anniversary review a couple years ago. Like, I've been doing this for over 10 years. It's funny, I see these YouTube channels coming out now be like, it's my 10th year. I'm like, that's cute, kid. I've been doing this longer than you. It's just hilarious that you have more subscribers than me and nobody knows who I am, but I've been doing it longer. So I feel like I'm old man who yells at cloud at this point on YouTube because I've been doing it so long.
It's just weird to think of that, like, everything game trailers, like even Game Heroes to a lesser extent, ScrewAttack, it's all gone now.
And some of them to a lesser extent, like, I used to be big with the community on retroware as well, and now it's really a shell of what it used to be, because most of the big people left and they're doing their own things. I don't think Ito and John do much anymore on there. Blistered Thumbs got fully absorbed back into Channel Awesome, and that kind of sucked when that happened too. And like just Reviewtopia's gone. Like all these sites that I used to frequent. River City Gamers, even right now, the site that I'm with, like we've been talking about restructuring it and making it more like Normal Boots' website, where Normal Boots is just here's who we are, here's links to our YouTube channels. Those kind of websites are kind of dead now. There's no reason for me to make my video exclusive to the River City Gamers site anymore for even just a little while, because I could be making those views up on YouTube. And in fact, I haven't made them exclusive for the last few years. If I put a video up, I'll put it on River City Gamers, but I'm putting it public on YouTube at the same time because I want it to get views. So those websites used to be way to generate views. And, you know, I got views from ScrewAttack and Retroware. I used to get those views, but those websites just, they're a product of their time and they don't need to exist anymore. And and it's kind of sad because it was more personal. Like those sites were more personal than YouTube.
Yeah, it's weird because the climate has changed so much, because like people don't really, well, I guess they do and they don't, but like Let's Plays, like live streams are the big things now. Like people don't really want to see top 10s. Like look at Watch Mojo and those two guys. I don't remember their name. They wanted to monetize like the reaction videos. I don't remember their name. Doesn't matter. But yeah, like a retrospective now, I don't think it would fly. If Game Trailers was still around and launched their first retrospective, today's climate, I don't think it would do that well.
You have to be a special kind of person, like Pro Jared's retrospective on Dragon Ball Z fighting games and his video series on Final Fantasy. My buddy SCXCR did a full retrospective on the Bloody Roar series, and he's actually doing one now for the Seiken Densetsu series, or Mana series. Yeah. And he's 2 games in on that, and they get tons of views, and they're long videos. And that's the other thing too, it's long form videos now that get all the views. This podcast is probably going to get more views than my video that I spent hours working on. That's going to be coming up soon, because the video I'm working on is only going to be 10 minutes, but people want long form content and they want a lot of it. It's why channels like GameSack are so successful, because like they have long form videos. And unless you're somebody like Angry Joe, who already has a big following, you don't have much of a shot out there.
Yeah, and now like with like it's worrisome with Game Trailer, ScrewAttack, all these sites shutting down. It's like what's going to happen 5 years from now? Like, is YouTube even going to be a thing? Like,
I think YouTube will still be there. I don't think YouTube's dying and gone yet. Like, they're constantly changing things to make sure that doesn't happen, but it is something that people have feared for a long time, because right now YouTube's a monopoly. The only real competition they have is with other streaming platforms like Amazon Prime and stuff like that. That's why they've been giving creators like ABGN, for example, like exclusive contracts, to give them creators a chance to make a little extra money to make their content exclusive. And there's so many sites. There's like there's Dailymotion, there was Rever, Vimeo, all these sites. Blip, which was a big competitor to YouTube for a long time. Some of these sites are gone or not relevant anymore. Ouch. So there's not really anything to go against the YouTube monopoly. The only way, and even Google's been talking about for on the down low for years about moving away from YouTube and making their own streaming platform instead of YouTube.
But Google owns YouTube, so what the hell sense does that make?
I know. But the thing is Google doesn't make money off YouTube. They actually keep YouTube operational at a loss. So people say, if they're at a loss, why do they even have YouTube? It's because the viewer base is there. And what they want to do is when they have a way to make YouTube or some other streaming platform where it's profitable, they'll already have the viewer base. They don't have to worry about it. But and YouTube is so integrated with everything now that it's kind of hard to go with anything else. But I mean, inevitably one day YouTube might be gone.
Yeah.
And just like these other sites.
Well, yeah, it's because I think like with all these sites closed, the ScrewAttack being the last one, I think it's going to usher in the end of the website era. I don't think websites with stuff like this are going to be sustainable, because you've seen that they're not. They might be sustainable 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, but it's not a long-term thing.
Exactly.
Like if game trailers and ScrewAttack can shut down, what chances does, like, I don't know, like Cinemassacre have? It's big, but it's nowhere near as big as ScrewAttack or game trailers.
And that's why a lot of people have personal sites now. Like Cinemassacre is basically just James's site for his content if, you know, YouTube goes down or if people need to access his content another way. And it's funny because some tabs that I used to have pinned in my browser were ScrewAttack, Retroware TV, Channel Awesome, Game Trailers, all these sites I had tabbed, and now none of them are tabbed in my Google Chrome anymore, or Brave, or whatever I'm using. Because I don't need to go to those sites anymore. If I want gaming content, if I want Ant Dude, if I want Balrog's Gaming Room, if I want GameSack, the Game Chasers, if I want Scott the Waz, I don't know why I would, but if I wanted to, it's all available on YouTube. I don't have to go to one of those websites. And, but these websites were important for getting some of these people to where they are now. And, you know, even as I redesign the River City Gamer site to be more like Normal Boots, where it's just a place where you can get links to our stuff on YouTube, part of me feels like, you know, I kind of wish I could just keep this the way it is. But the fact of the matter is, nobody goes to our website. So what's the point of maintaining something that people aren't going to? So it's sad, but that's how things move on. I'll never forget ScrewAttack though, because they were a big impact on my life for over 10 years of my life.
Oh, big time.
Big impact on me, impact on what I'm doing now. Like, if it wasn't for ScrewAttack, I wouldn't. I've said that this like 60 times, but if it wasn't for ScrewAttack, I wouldn't be here doing this content still now, because with the following that I have, it's not enough to be something that maintained. I would have given up on it a long time ago, but I do it for the love of it, even though I'm not really making money off of it, except for the few people who use my affiliate links and follow me on Patreon. Thank you very much, by the way. There isn't any reason other than passion at this point to do YouTube, unless you've already got a follow.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I understand, it makes me understand why you're maybe not posting as much, because maybe part of you is like, what's the point? But, you know, if you love these things like I do, then, you know, it doesn't matter if one person watches. I like making these videos, and I'll always have a place in my heart for this stuff. And when I die, my archive of work will be available for people to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, like, let's be real here. Like, if you've ever watched a Let's Play on YouTube, if you've ever watched any review, like top 10 video game thing, they're there because of ScrewAttack. They were the first ones to do it. Like, can you think of another website before them that had that? Like, we're all here, like, I don't care, like Markiplier, PewDiePie, like you said, Jacksepticeye, JonTron, AVGN, they're all here because of ScrewAttack.
Exactly.
They either like have a direct or indirect correlation with ScrewAttack. It didn't get me into wanting to do YouTube videos, but it was a big part of it.
Is there anything else you want to say about ScrewAttack? Because I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say.
Yeah, it just sucks, and I guess just a sign of the times.
Well, as I raise my steam whistle glass full of Coke Zero, I tip my glass to you, Craig, Sam, Ben, Tom, and all the other people who worked at ScrewAttack, Destin, Pro Jared, for making such a great website and being a big part of the internet and part of our lives. So thanks a lot for that. And I will continue to be a G1 as I support Game Attack in the future. G1 since 2006, baby.
No one would be here without ScrewAttack.
So thank you for making ScrewAttack and making me the guy I am today. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to end the main discussion, but we're not done yet, because it's now part of the episode where we talk about what we're working on. So Brad, if you could let everybody know what you're working on right now.
I'm almost done. I am so close to finishing Bendy and the Ink Machine. It's funny enough because I'm thinking now of doing a top 10. It's not it's not going to be a weekly thing. Maybe every now and then, because I just want to expand into more than just Let's Plays.
Yeah, I know you've been wanting to do stuff for a while. I think we've had a couple of ideas too. But just scheduling's been the main thing.
Yeah, and I'm in the works of a review show, which 100% is going to happen.
All right, awesome to hear. If I can say anything about top 10s, I just released one, so they're pretty fun to work on. Yeah, is there anything else you're working on, or is that basically it right now?
Just for right now, finishing some of the games on my channel. Trying to do that. I have a back catalog of 80 games ready to go. Or 80 episodes ready to go, not games.
What the fuck, get them released?
Too many games. 80 is too many.
When we have time, by the way, I'll just segue into it. We're going to do more Terror Time and more stuff. I know that you and I probably need to do more Cuphead. We need to do more Donkey Kong Country 3. Yes. We definitely need to do more. And you've been actually, I don't know if I should announce this yet, but you've been getting caught up back to where we were in Soma and Outlast, right?
Outlast, yeah. First Outlast.
So, as some of you may remember, Casey used to did those Let's Plays with us a while ago, and she doesn't really do that content anymore. She moved away, but they were all on her PlayStation account. So, Brad here has said, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to get back to where I was. And then we'll continue where we left off. So more Outlast and Soma coming eventually. We were almost done Soma. So.
Yeah, we were pretty close, which I am redoing Outlast. That's currently the one I'm working on. I'm obviously working on Soma too, but Outlast is the focus. It scared me again twice.
Yeah. and we'll definitely do more of that once he's caught up on it. And of course, obviously we want to finish Resident Evil 7. And obviously, what's the other one? Fatal Frame?
Fatal Frame.
Those will be happening. In my camp, I've been posting, speaking of Terror Time, I've been posting my Terror Time with Canadian Jutsu of Resident Evil 2 Remake. So go check that out on my Let's Play channel. I have a new review coming out next week or this week, depending on when you see this. Hopefully by Valentine's Day. It's nearly complete. It's 75% done. I had to film a few things today for it, so hopefully it'll be done soon. 16-Bit Winter's kind of on a hiatus for me. I've been doing some other things, so I may or may not get back to Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga in time. And I definitely have more guests for this podcast happening, so keep an eye out for that. Brad was one of the first guests of the year, so thanks for coming on, Brad, and suggesting this topic.
We should do this more often.
We should do this more often, yeah, especially. And since I've got you here, what do you want to promote? Is there any? Would you want to just promote your YouTube channel, or
just that and my Bendy playthrough, because that right now is my favorite game.
So if you guys want to find his channel, it is Ox7 Gaming. I link it all the time, but there'll be a link in the description as well as in the annotations at the end of this video on the YouTube version. If you're listening to the podcast over on Shout Engine, you can find his channel by going to YouTube and searching Ox7 Gaming, or I think his YouTube URL is actually Gamers Eclipse 1.
20. Or I don't know. That's what my channel used to be called. It was a long time ago. I always hated that name.
But yeah, Ox7 Gaming. If you just do a quick search for it on Facebook or YouTube, you'll find it. And as for me, you already know what my stuff is. You can follow me on Facebook, Zeromaster fan page. Follow me on Twitter at Zeromaster. My Patreon account is patreon.com/Zeromaster. And you'll see on the screen at the end of this video, my Patreons who have backed me for at least $1, get your name in the credits. If you back me on Patreon, you have the option to see behind the scenes stuff, to see the unedited version of this podcast first before anybody else. You have the options to also get other perks such as behind the scenes stuff, extras, little goofs and gaffs here and there. And you can also follow me on Twitch. I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And my Twitch channel is Zeromaster LP. So come come on out this coming week. I'll be doing Monster Hunter stuff because
Yes.
Monster Hunter, the Witcher 3 event dropped, so we're definitely going to be doing some Monster Hunter. And Mr. Ox7 Gaming here, Brad, just got into Monster Hunter, and he sent me like 3,000 texts saying about how much he loves this game. So,
well, they Sony had a flash sale and they threw it on for $30. I played a little bit of the one for the Wii U 3, I think, Ultimate Monster Hunter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played that one. I was like, it's okay, I guess. And I thought I'd give World a try. Oh boy.
Yeah, they fixed everything.
It is so good. I've already have like 9 hours into that game. I bought it last night.
We should go hunting after this podcast.
Okay.
We should go do some hunts, yeah, because I want to play some Monster Hunter right now, actually. By the way, if you would, another way you would like to support the podcast, but say you don't have any money, download the Brave browser. I have a affiliate link with them. Anybody who downloads that browser, I get a kickback from. And if you don't know what Brave is, it's made by the people who made...
I'm Brave.
Exactly. The Brave browser is made by the people who originally were programmers at Mozilla. So the original programmers for Firefox. It's safe. It's secure. It tells you all the information that is protecting of yours. And it's my main web browser. I wouldn't be promoting it if I didn't believe in the product. And I really believe in this product. And on top of that, on top of it having a built-in ad block and, non data collecting stuff in it, like stuff that protects you from that stuff. They give you every month a couple of bucks to give you your favorite creators. All you have to do is put one of the websites, like maybe my YouTube channel, for example, as a preferred website, and they pay us for once a month based on the free tokens you get. And
how is this the first time hearing about this?
I've been telling you about this for months, but I think you weren't really listening. But either way, this is Brave is the only way I've gotten paid for YouTube. YouTube doesn't even pay me what they owe, and they owe me some money. So, but yeah, I've made money off of Brave. So if you want to support the show, but you don't have any money, just download our browser and use it for a little bit. Even if you just download it and just say, this is going to be my secondary browser when I want to look up stuff that I don't want on my main browser history, like porn or something. It will protect your porn. If you want me to say that. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I know this one was a short one, but it was basically just a eulogy at this point for a website long gone. And Brad, thank you very much for coming on the podcast and suggesting this topic.
Yeah, I thought it needed to be talked about.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing a lot more, Brad, because there's more stuff coming up, and yeah, so that's happening. And before we go, I'm not going to be on the next episode, as far as I know, if timing works right. Canadian Jutsu and my friend Well and Real 007 are going to be doing a podcast on Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts, so I said you guys can do that. Because I don't care. So the next episode of the Hunter Base podcast will probably be on Kingdom Hearts 3. So if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, make sure to check us out next time for that podcast. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching the Hunter Base podcast or listening to it. Like I said, I'm your host, Zeromaster, and with me tonight was
Brad from Ox7 Gaming.
All right, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.